Hey, what's up, fantasy fans? So, looking at my shelf, I realized while Joe Abercrombie is not my favorite author, he's one of the few authors who I've read their entire bibliography. So, real quick, in the next 3 minutes, I'm going to rank them from my least favorite to my most favorite. So, at the bottom, we have the Sharp Ends collection. He kind of plays on the whole Fafred and Grey Mouser. You have the rogue type character, you have the more berserker type character. They take up a lot of space in this story, but overall, I would say this is probably the only Joe Abercrombie book that I would completely pass on. Didn't really think Sharp Ends was that good of a collection, but it's been a while. Maybe I'm being unkind to it. Half a War. This is not a great conclusion to the trilogy. I thought Joe Abercrombie did his usual subverting tropes expectation, but in a way in this series, he went against the tropes or went against normal story conventions in a way that felt very dissatisfying for the whole trilogy. And this is the third book in the Shattered Sea trilogy. And then we got the book that started it all, The Blade itself. This book has a lot of problems. Book 2 improved on it a bunch. And then book 3 to me was not quite as good as the second book, so Last Argument of Kings is the next on my list. And then we're going to go with The Great Change, which is a very small collection of short stories, way better short story collection than Sharp Ends. This brought a lot of depth to the Age of Madness trilogy, which is one of my favorite Abercrombie works. And it was just a really fun and enjoyable short story collection, but it's a little on the slimmer side and doesn't stack up against these other books. Then we have Half a King. This book was great start to a YA trilogy. I really loved Half a King. And then we have Half the World. This is better than Half a King in every way imaginable. It introduces 2 new POV characters and they're great. Next we have Red Country. This one gets talked about negatively a lot. I really loved it. Very much a grimdark fantasy western. Then you have Best Served Cold. Monskara Mercado getting her revenge. An amazing get a team together, accomplish a mission type story. I liked it. The Heroes, even better. The Best of the First Law Standalones. Really great book. I love The Heroes. Then next up, we have the one that got panned by BookTube, and that is The Devils. This is Suicide Squad in alternate history Europe. It is really good. The way they play on the history of Troy, of England, the way they play with the Pope and the different magical seals that priests implement. It was a lot of fun. I really loved the characters in The Devils. And then next up, we have the best book in the original First Law trilogy, Best Served Cold. This felt like a quest fantasy. It felt like we were Fellowship of the Ring, but obviously it's Abercrombie, so there's some trope subversion there. Then we have the third book in his Age of Madness series, The Wisdom of Crowds. Great book, great conclusion of the series, best conclusion he's ever written, but it pales in comparison to book 1, A Little Hatred, which started the Age of Madness trilogy and perfectly carried the torch from not only the First Law trilogy, but also the Great Leveler trilogy and set up a great story on its own. And then The Trouble with Peace, the middle book in his Age of Madness trilogy and probably his best book he's ever written. Thanks, guys. Peace.